All right, so in 7.7 we talked about how to find the cofactors and the minors and how to find determinants of 2 by 2, and then we're going to finish off with the 3 by 3. So for the minors and the cofactors, if you've got the a 2 by 2, okay, then for each element that's there, you have a minor. For each element that's there, you have a cofactor, right? So if I name these, it would be minor 1, 1, minor 1, 2, minor 1, 2, 1, and minor 2, 2. And it's row, then column. So if I'm going to find 1, 1, then I cross through the row and the column, first row, first column. And what's left would be my minor, which in this case is 6. Then I go back and repeat that process for the second one. This time it's row 1, but it's column 2. This would be 0. Then I repeat that process for 2, 1, and 2, 2, which means row 2, column 1, which is negative 5, and row 2, column 2, which is 2. Question so far? And then the cofactors for a 2 by 2, we change the signs on the middle 2. Okay, so the first one's going to stay the same. This would be 6. The last one's going to stay the same. This would be 2. And then the 2 in the middle are going to change your sign. Obviously, 0 is 0 no matter what it is, whether it's positive or negative, so you don't need to change the sign on that. But my negative 5 has to become a positive 5. Questions on that one? Easy stuff, right? Okay, then it comes to the 3 by 3. So just like the 2 by 2, there's one for each element that's there. The way that I wrote this out on your quiz, so you can kind of try to like visually do it that matches, I match them in the way in which they are seen. So like I put a space for the minor of 1, 1, a space for the minor of 1, 2, and a space for the minor of 1, 3, all in one row. So that's the first row. Then I did 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, and 2, 3. And then I did 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3. That way you're kind of consistent with the order of the original matrix. So the rule for the minors for a 3 by 3, same. You cross through the row and the column that it's in. The difference is this time you've got to find the determinant of what's left. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find the determinant of 2, 1, negative 1, 1, which is 2 minus a negative 1, which is 3. Then I do row 1, column 2, and I'm finding the determinant of negative 3, 1, 1, 1. So this is negative 3 minus 1, which is negative 4. Then I go row 1, column 3, and I'm finding the determinant of negative 3, 2, 1, negative 1. That's 3 minus 2, which is 1. With me so far? Then I repeat that whole process for row 2. So I cancel through row 2. First one is column 1, and I'm finding the determinant of 0, 2, negative 1, 1, which is 0 minus a negative 2, or 2. Then it's row 2, column 2. Which leaves you with 4, 2, 1, 1, 4 minus 2, which is 2. And then the last one is in that row, row 2, column 3, which leaves you with 4, 0, 1, negative 1. So negative 4 minus 0, which is negative 4. Then I repeat the process again for row 3. So this time I'm canceling through row 3 and column 1 for the first one. And what's left is 0, 2, 2, 1. That's 0 minus 4, which is negative 4. Then row 3, column 2. That leaves you with 4, 2, negative 3, 1. That's 4 minus a negative 6, which is 10. And then the last one is row 3, column 3, and that leaves you with 4, 0, negative 3, 2, which is 8 minus 0, or 8. So there'll be a little line for each of these, okay? It'll say the minor of 1, 1, minor of 1, 2, minor of 1, 3, in that order, one row. And then 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, and 3, 3. Questions so far? Then comes the cofactors, right? So the same thing, there's 3 for each row, so it would be cofactor 1, 1, cofactor 1, 2, cofactor 1, 3, cofactor 2, 1, cofactor 2, 2, cofactor 2, 3, and cofactor 3, 1, cofactor 3, 2, cofactor 3, 3. And it's every other of the minors that changes sign starting with the second one. Or if you think about it like a compass, it is your north, I shouldn't have done that in there, north, south, east, and west points. So the ones that don't change are your 3, your 1, your 2, your -4, and your 8. The ones that do change would be that -4 is going to become a +4, the +2 is going to become a -2, the -4 is going to become a +4, and the +10 is going to become a -10. So it's every other one starting with the second one, or it's that north, south, east, west. Okay? Questions. Be super careful. Don't try to do the determinant without writing it out in your head and then make a mistake, and then I can't give you back the credit because you don't show any work. Okay? One little negative obviously changes it. If it's changing the minor, it could change the cofactor. Well, it's definitely going to change the cofactor because you'll either keep it the wrong sign or you'll change it. Either way, it would be wrong. So you want to be really careful there. All right, then we talked about the determinant, and this was their little Jesus fish thing, right? So if I work my way through, it's bottom right, top left diagonal first. That's -2 times 4, which is -8, minus the other diagonal, -1 times 3, that's -3. 8 minus a -3, -8 minus a -3 becomes -8 plus 3, or -5. Questions so far? So the 3 by 3, the first thing you have to do is duplicate the first two columns, right? So this would be 2, in a color you can see, 2, 4, 4, -1, 2, 2. And then the order is the top left, bottom right, because that's what we do first with the little fish. If you think about it, these would get multiplied together. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 1 is 4. -1 times 1 is -1, times 4 is -4. 0 times 4 times 2 is 0. So -4 and 4 cancel out. This is 0. You want to add all those together. And then go back the other way. So 0 times 4 times 2 is 0. 2 times 1 is +4. And then -1 times 4 times 1 is -4. This is actually 0 as well. You would do this one minus this one. They're both 0, so it doesn't matter, right? But if it was any other number, obviously it's going to matter. You want to make sure you're doing your top left, bottom right diagonal minus the top left, bottom right diagonal minus the top right, bottom left. So just the way we do the fish, it would be this minus this. You want to do the same thing here. So the determinant here is 0. Questions? The quiz is going to cover 7.5 through 7.7. What did I just do with my steps? There. I just said it, but no calculators on this quiz. I might let you use it I might use scientific for your test, but not on the quiz. 7.5 was your adding and subtracting and multiplying by a scalar. Adding, subtracting, scalar multiple. And multiplying matrices. So you could see something where you're just given the matrix and it asks you to multiply it by a scalar. You could see where you've got to add two together, you've got to subtract them, and you've got to multiply them. So remember, when you're adding and subtracting, they have to have the same dimensions. You can only add a 2 by 2 to a 2 by 2. You can only subtract a 3 by 3 from a 3 by 3. When you're multiplying, the middle two have to match the outer two as the result. So if I'm multiplying a 1 by 3 and a 3 by 2, these match, which means you can do it. The outer two would be your result. So this would be a 1 by 2. The first one would be row 1, column 1. Those are the two things that you multiply together and add. The second thing would be row 1, column 2. Those would be the things that you multiply together and add. And remember, order is important. So A times B is different than B times A. You got to make sure you go in the order. Because if I say A times B, I'm doing the rows from A's and the columns from B. But if I say B times A, I'm doing the rows from B's and the columns from A's. So remember that order matters when it comes to multiplication. Any questions on adding, subtracting, scalar, multiplying? That's all 7-5. Okay, then came 7-6, which was inverses. And this is going to be inverse of your 2 by 2 and your 3 by 3, okay? The 2 by 2 is 1 over the determinant. So that, let's say it's of A, B, C, D. Then it's 1 over the determinant times. You switch the location of A and D and you change the sign on B and C. So if I was finding the inverse of 1, negative 2, 3, and 4, the determinant would be 4 minus a negative 6, which is 10. And then I would do 1/10 times, switch the 4 and the 1, change the signs on the negative 2 and the 3. And then you'd multiply that in. So I'd get 4/10, 2/10, negative 3/10, and 1/10. And then what? God bless you. Do you ever leave an unsimplified fraction? No. So you'd simplify. So that would become 2/5, 1/5, negative 3/10, and 1/10. So anything that can be simplified would need to be. Questions on 2 by 2 inverse?
Can you repeat the A times B, B times A?
Like the order? So if it's A times B and B times A, those are two different things. A times B means you're doing the rows from A, the columns from B. And B times A is the reverse. You're doing the rows from B and the columns from A. Then we had our inverse of our 3 by 3s. Okay, so this was if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I add on my 1s and 0s. This would be 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And we would work through that process until the left side equals the right side. So you're basically doing the Gosh Jordan with two extra columns. Once you get the left side to be that 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, whatever's on the right side is your inverse. So your answer is just what happens on the right side once you get it into the inverse. We didn't talk about it, but one of the ways that you use the inverse is to solve a system. So if you have a system of equation that's 3 variables and 3 equations, then you can actually separate off your constants, save them for the end, find the inverse of the 3 columns and 3 rows that are left, And then you take that inverse and multiply it back by the constants, and it solves your system. So it's one of the ways that you use an inverse. We did not do that. We're going to talk about solving it using a different method next week. But just so you know, there's like that's how you can apply the inverse. Questions on process there, so I'm not going to work through a whole example. I'd rather you try to practice it on your own, have time to do that. Okay. And then the last thing is 7, which is what we just talked about yesterday and today. Okay, this is the minors, the cofactors, the determinants of a 2 by 2, and a 3 by 2. I mean a 3 by 2. 3 by 3. Questions? So quiz is 7 questions, okay? But you know the inverse one of a 3 by 3 is going to take you a long time. That's double the points. The determinant of the 3 by 3 is double the points, and the minors and cofactors counts for 2. All right, so there is a review on the actual quiz. There's a quiz review there with the solutions. You've got the remaining time to either work on your homework because you still haven't done, remember that's due tomorrow as well if you didn't start it last night. If you did start last night, all you've got is that one 3 by 3 left to do. And then also work on the quiz review.